Well, speaking of, my mom sends me a picture.
Of her going down on your dad?
No!
What? What?
You didn't let me
Last
finish.
day in Florida.
No, you didn't let me finish.
You're listening to the Laughing Couple podcast with your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy. Join them weekly as they discuss topics such as relationships, kids, sex, parenting, all unfiltered and all with a healthy dose of laughter. Please welcome your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy.
Sing that thing. Can I sing that thing?
Miss Gonna. Happy Tuesday.
Yes, happy Tuesday.
It's not Tuesday while we're recording this, but I was being a little bit sneaky.
Yeah, well, you're going to hear this on Tuesday. Maybe it's Wednesday. Maybe you were late to the party.
So we just came from Easter weekend. Did you know that in the States, they don't get Monday off? Like the kids have to go to school?
Well, we don't get Monday off.
No, I'm talking about the kids.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
There are a lot of things in the United States that happen here in Canada.
No,
they don't get nearly as many days off as we do.
Yeah, I know. I just I saw someone's post and it was like, oh man, I wish the kids didn't have to go to school tomorrow. This was obviously yesterday, and I was like, I wish my kids were going to school tomorrow.
You know, there's a significant amount of confusion around Easter, and I had a conversation with someone about this the other day. Now, not to get into a religious conversation per se, so the whole idea was Jesus sacrificed himself on the Good Friday and rose 3 days later. Well, for some people, 3 days later means Monday. And for some people, 3 days later means Sunday. But
Depends on if you count Friday.
But do you count Friday?
Well, I think this is more a question of math.
Well, I believe the Bible counts Friday as a day, and I believe that Easter is on Sunday. And I believe that unless you work for the government to some capacity or the bank society or the banking industry, you don't get today off, regardless of whether you're Canadian or American. And I'm not sure what it's like in other countries, but I do know that those two things ring true.
I wanted the kids. Okay, so we had.
I wanted the kids to go back to school.
I did. Well, no, that's not true. Like, I love them so much. We just had a great weekend with them and all the cousins.
And now it's time for them to go back to school.
Now it's time. I'm like, I love you from afar. No, so what had happened is we did like an Easter egg hunt at my in-laws at Ryan's parents' house, and we fill all of the eggs, and like they love it. But we have a 11-year-old a nephew of ours who's the oldest, and I asked Jeff, I was like, what's his like belief around this?
Let's be clear. If you're listening with your children,
Stop.
First
of all, you should never listen to our podcast with your kids around because we're just very inappropriate. But anyway, he was like, I think he knows, but we're not ready to spoil it for him unless he comes to us. But Ben caught me. Like, I was like loading all of the eggs and he came upstairs, didn't really look at me, like walked right by me and like said goodnight to grandma. But I was like, did he not see me? It doesn't matter. Anyway, so that was from the Easter Bunny. And when our kids got home today, I bought stuff so that they would have their own like mini Easter baskets to open. And honestly, just like dollar store things. So Riley this morning, one of her gifts from the quote unquote Easter Bunny was a phone stand that is like a bendable arm, because she's like really into making dance videos right now and whatever. So I was like, oh, this will be like a cute little, like that can be her big gift. It was $4. And she comes to me this morning and she's like, I don't want this. And I was like, pardon me? And she was like, well, it's sticky on the bottom, and once you stick it, it has to stay there. So like, it's not something I need, and I don't need this to make videos. And I was like, I was pissed, but I couldn't be like, well, I bought that for you, so you're being a little bitch. But I was like, well, the Easter Bunny dropped you off something really nice, and that's kind of being ungrateful. And she was like, well, he's not here. I'm like, no, but somebody who knows him is.
Well, in all fairness to her, I'm going to play devil's advocate in this situation.
She was being ungrateful.
She was being ungrateful, and at the same token, recognizing that something she got you could use and was trying to give it to you. So in one way, very ungrateful, and in the other way, very giving.
I get that. She was like, and then she was all pissed off because I was like, well, Rue, like just because it doesn't work exactly how you want it to work is kind of like, it's not the nicest thing if somebody gets you a gift and you're like, I don't need this.
Yeah, but keep in
she's
mind.
spinning it. She's
Keep in
spinning
mind,
it
no
like
one gave her a gift.
I understand. But it just happened. Like, wait a day.
I think, in all due respect, I think that if had you handed it to her, her reaction would have been entirely different.
Well, I'm about to go tell her that the Easter Bunny's not real,
no.
and that was from me, just so she can.
I'm going to say this is a really cool story because it goes back to what you were just talking about our nephew and with the whole magic of everything. One of the things that I think has delayed the inevitable running into what's real and what's not real was last Christmas. And we've never told this story, but when you were talking about
it, you can tell it again.
No, I haven't.
We have.
This is the coolest thing ever. So the kids go downstairs and my parents read them a book. While the kids are downstairs, my parents are reading the book. All of the adults, now keep in mind, we weren't there for this because we had COVID. All of the presents are laid out in the upstairs. So they're in the basement. All the presents are laid upstairs. My dad and mom think it'd be a really, really cool idea to send Ben up to discover the presents. Mm-hmm. So he goes up. So my dad says, hey, Ben, I can't read this book without my glasses. Can you go upstairs and grab my glasses?
And then he was going to come back down and be like, oh my God,
the presents are here. Right. So Ben runs upstairs, grabs the glasses, runs downstairs, doesn't notice all of the presents. Yeah, doesn't even notice them.
Just blinders on.
Right. Now it turns out that he's actually quite blind and he needed glasses. We found that out this year. So this might have something to do with that. That should have been like hey guys, have you ever looked at his eyes? But anyways, he didn't notice them. And so when he ran downstairs, my mom and my dad were like, you have anything to share with us? And he didn't. So they just proceeded to read the book to the kids. Yeah. And they said, all right, guys, let's go upstairs for some cinnamon rolls. So everyone runs upstairs for cinnamon rolls and everything's there. Mm-hmm.
And it was like, to them and to Ben, he's like, I was just up here.
I was just up there
a minute ago.
I saw all of you here in the basement.
So he was like freaking out because to him it was 1 minute and all of the presents are there. Like,
I know. And then they ran out to the back of my parents' porch, or I guess the deck, and they saw him departing their house.
Oh, what do you mean?
They saw light.
Oh.
So it was insane.
We hired a helicopter
to
come in.
No, but it was the beauty of the anticipation to get downstairs quick enough that he didn't really recognize what was going on.
It worked out so well.
And that gap in time was impossible for anyone's brains to figure out.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Which made it so magical. Anyways.
Do you have...
know the Muffin Man?
Yes.
The Muffin Man?
Do you have I love you and you're annoying?
Do you know the Muffin Man? Do I have an I love you and you're annoying? No, I don't. I don't. I know what yours is.
What?
Falling asleep twice and
what?
Over the weekend? Me just falling asleep randomly in the middle of the day?
No.
Okay, good.
No, not at all.
All right. Well, I guess, do you have one?
I don't know if it's one. It's just like, I find...
Please don't make it about laundry.
It's not.
Good.
That's fine. I don't even know. Like, I don't really have one. I think for me, it's just like one of those things when we go to your parents or something for an event, like I got everything together and I was just like, I was annoyed on the eve of the hunt because you weren't helping me fill the eggs.
I wasn't helping you fill the eggs because I was putting the kids to bed.
No, I understand, but it was so late but then you came downstairs and you took a granola bar and you sat on the couch and you said, do you need some help? I'm like, well, I'm pretty much done, but I need help distributing them.
Yeah,
and then you sat on the couch for the next 5 minutes and finished your granola bar instead of helping me.
Yeah.
That was annoying.
I get that last little annoying. I did say to you, Brittany, let me just finish this and then I'll join you.
Which you didn't need to do. I literally sat there alone doing the Easter egg for 7 other children.
I needed some energy.
And no one was helping me. Your mom helped me. I feel kind of bad because she was like, can you handle this? And I was like, is anyone else going to help me? She was like, oh, I'm like, honestly, I can put everything together if you want to just like distribute them. And she was like, no problem. And I'm like, thank you. Because it was so much. Like it was for 7 kids.
I know.
So she helped me put everything around and I really appreciate it.
I was putting the kids to bed. So just that I can get out of it. I can get out of it to a certain degree.
Anyways, that's mine.
Okay, well, I get it. I totally get it. I knew you would have been annoyed in the period of time that happened.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said to you, like, conditions of satisfaction.
Right.
I will come over to you. Just let me finish this first.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I actually don't accept that.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, I didn't give
accept
it to you as an option.
For conditions of satisfaction, there is a bag upstairs that has a whole bunch of Easter shit in it. If you could help me remove some of that so that it doesn't sit at the front
Yeah,
door
for
for the
sure.
whole week, that would be super awesome because it usually does just sit
For
there.
sure.
Thank you.
Well,
Moving
back to
on.
the pod. Back to the pod. Congratulations. You guys celebrated and successfully navigated yourselves through your family journey. Yeah. Some of you had it tough. Some of you had it not so tough. And congratulations. It's, we're now on our journey. But I did want to talk to you about this because you did bring up something about work. And vacation and times away with the Sunday.
About our conversation. On the
So
way
I
there?
heard this really interesting thing, and then we obviously did a deep dive on it. I heard this very interesting stat that said the average male that retires at 55 does not make it to 65, and the average, instead of retiring at 55, retiring at 65, the life expectancy of a male
retiring at 65.
skyrockets.
And I was like so flabbergasted with that. And because I was like, what is it? Like, you retire at 55, you're young enough, right? And so we started like kind of questioning things, and we actually didn't research why. We were just kind of talking about it.
We made some speculations around why
we
it
were
would
like,
be.
I mean, I think a huge part of it is your mind or your will. Like, what's your purpose?
Purpose. I think
Right?
that has a
Like,
lot to do with purpose.
You're not, if you don't have a purpose, you're probably not staying active. And I don't mean like going out and running a marathon. I just mean like physically doing things every day keeps your body moving. It also keeps your mind moving.
But I know so many, like personally, I have so many stories of men who decided that they were going to retire and died weeks before retirement or weeks after
that
retirement
is so sad.
of like heart attacks.
That's so sad. I think that we nailed it though. I think a lot of it comes down to purpose. And if there's no purpose, like the will to do anything just gets so fleeting. It's just depleted. And what else? Like, what are you getting up for?
And then we talked about, well, because again, you got to do something, right? And so we talked about in our 3-hour long conversation in the car. These are the best conversations we have because outside of the podcast, believe it or not, Brittany and I don't get a chance to talk to each other that
uninterrupted
that frequently. So 3 hours in a car ride to my parents' place and 3 hours back. That's 6 hours of content that we tend to, soak all of it up and bring it to you guys shortly thereafter. But the conversation that we had was a very unique one because we were talking about how in other countries, they value certain things differently than we do. Work versus play, family time, all of that. We don't have enough data to actually, stand in a position here, but we know that a lot of European countries will take hours, like 2 or 3 hours lunch breaks. So that they all gather as a family, they sit by the table, they talk to each other, then they go back to work.
After.
They have siestas.
It's amazing.
These things all are important. We also found out that there are European countries that have what they call a 13th month. And the 13th month, from my understanding of it, as it was explained to me, was that these countries believe that you should work for your expenses and you should work for pleasure.
Right.
And so the employer is responsible to ensure that you and your family go away on vacation. So they pay you 13th month salary
For you to take a
for
vacation.
you to go away on vacation.
It's the way to do it.
So we were talking about how backwards our world is and how backwards it seems like for us. And then we started playing around with different scenarios and we think we've come up with the winning formula.
Well, this is obviously like, I compared it to like, so they, in The Handmaid's Tale, they have a country that they've called Gilead. And
Gilead.
It's just like under it's specific rules, a specific law. It's somewhere in the States, but it's like its own country and it has its own laws. I'm like, can you imagine if we were like, you know what, fuck it. We're starting our own country and our own laws. And one of the things that we said would be so impactful in a family's life was the fact that when you have a child, until they are 10, you get paternity leave for 10 years. Or no. I think we switched it down to until they start school.
Till they started school.
Yeah, because 10 years is obviously would be a dream, but at the same time, not realistic.
In our situation, it would have worked out almost like that because our kids are 4 years apart.
Right.
And then when Riley went to school, when Riley started going to school, Cooper was just born.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have extended that out another 4 years. So it would have given us probably 9 years.
So basically, it's whenever they go to school, then like you have that as a paternity leave. But I like the idea of like maxing it at 10. So like say you have 2 kids, whenever, like as long as within that 10 year, you can't keep having children. Do you know what I mean? And get those 4 years off every single time.
So
like,
as a male, here's where knowing the stats that we had about the heart attack and the passing away between the ages of 55 and 65 for the retirees who retire at 55, which is like freedom 55 is now freedom 65. But if you look at that, my whole thing was this: if I know that my life expectancy when I retire is not that great, why not front load my retirement and then work until I die? Now, this sounds weird. It sounds weird. It sounds whatever. But if you gave me the opportunity to have 10 years of my life in my retirement ages or 10 years of my life in my prime of my life age-wise, with my kids at the prime of their lives.
Your prime physical condition, mental, like you everything. Are just living the best life.
With the caveat, because I'll speak from my perspective, but ultimately everybody kind of deals with this. In your 30s, that's when you're ramping up your career, you're solidifying yourself. By your 40s, you should establish yourself. And then they say by your 50s is when you make your significant amount of money. That's how the game's supposed to be played. So the idea is if I'm going to take my 30s off, I can't be penalized in my 40s. My 40s become my 30s, the 50s, and so on and so forth.
It moves to a 10-year
Everything
gap.
shifts, but the whole world recognizes and understands that collectively our family decided to do this. Now, the only issue, and for the buts, it's like, well, what if we don't have kids?
Yeah.
Right.
I know,
I get that. And I totally get that. So the idea is if you choose not to have kids and you hit 30, you get 30 to 40 to just vacation and do whatever you want to do. Fully pension inside your pension.
I wouldn't say the 10 years. I would say 5.
All I'm saying is why rob us of the prime time of our kids' lives and our lives with this work thing when at the end of the day, when I'm 65 and I want to retire, I don't have the energy to do what I want to do in my 30s. So give me my in Canada, it's CPP, Canadian Pension Plan. Give me my retirement pension plan when I'm in my 30s, and I will happily work until the day I die.
And this all stemmed from, we saw a couple TikTok videos that made us like hella emotional. The one being like a mom is playing with her kids, and on the screen it says something like, anytime I'm having a really hard day with my kids, if they're being little brats or whatever, I have a mindset of saying to myself, imagine you get to go back in time and experience your kids at this age
for one day.
Yeah. Like, how would you treat it? And I was bawling. And then I was telling you about that second one, where this mom is just sitting at a breakfast place, and she's holding her phone. She's not saying anything, and it's just pointed at her, but on the screen, and there's freaking sad music playing, and I'm just like, meh. But she's saying, over the text, it says like, I'm out for breakfast with my kids. They all have their phones out. No one's talking to me. Like, everyone's just engulfed in their phones. And she said, there was a time when they were little where all they did was talk to me, but they told me like who they sat beside at lunch. They told me what they were wanting for their birthdays. Like, they want to go to the park. And she was like, it was an overstimulated amount of information. And I often was like, can you guys like give me a break? Like, I need some quiet. And now she's reflecting and saying like, what I would give to go back and have that. But at the same time, like, I want to respect their space, right? They are teenagers. It's a different time. And it was just very like confronting. Ryan and I are in the car. The kids are in the back. We're all teary eyed. We're like, we love you guys. Cause they're like quiet and cute when they're quiet.
Well, they were doing the exact same thing. Their heads were down because we had them looking at our phones to entertain themselves.
It literally just like gutted me. But then we started talking about how we would love to experience our kids' lives in the prime of being children and like vacationing or just traveling and like teaching them before they get to school and spending that like core time with them when they're little because it's so fleeting. And like as they're getting older, I feel like the last 2 years or so have really been like that has been so present in my brain because Riley's getting so old.
Being a parent is like psychological warfare.
It absolutely is. It's traumatic.
It's like I don't know how to describe it. We were in the basement this weekend and the kids wanted to play, and I can't tell you how tired I was. I cannot even describe how tired I was. Words were not even coming out of my mouth. That's how tired I was. And I grabbed a blanket and we were playing catch, and I stayed inside the blanket and I left my right arm out just so I could throw the ball back and forth. And then I fell asleep.
Yeah.
I literally fell asleep. And I remember like Cooper waking me up, getting right in my face and being like, can you play with me? 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 I'm like, Cooper, leave me alone. Yeah. I'm clearly sleeping. I'm tired. And then that whole, like, if I could go back for one day. And then I was like, yeah, but I'm not a time traveler and I am tired and I'm going to sleep because I can't do it. I can't do it.
It goes back to because we are working our friggin' asses off right now.
But everybody is.
I know.
That's the thing.
Oh, hold on. I'm not saying just us two. I'm saying like people our age in their careers are working more than they've ever worked in the past. It's so easy to get a hold of us. We don't have a 9 to 5. We work all the time. We have a cell phone. We're always available. We're always working. So like it's a lot. We're exhausted. And like I'm sure our parents were exhausted too. It's just it's so much happening in your career and it's so much happening as a parent. It's just like the hardest times. And we're going to look back and be like, fuck, I missed that.
It is. This is the greatest time that we ever had in our entire lives. And yet here we are at this particular moment in time thinking like, do you remember the girl? Do you remember this is the one that really got me? The woman said, I am now out of next year this will be, or whatever they were called. Do you remember that one?
No.
The girl said like,
oh yeah, it
will be great
like,
when it will, yeah. She's like, I'm now out of. She's like a 70-something.
I'm not rushing time, but I don't want like keep in mind when you say things like, I can't wait until
next year's going to be. It's going to be awesome
like
next year when they can walk. It's going to be awesome next year when they can participate. It's going to be awesome when this. She's like now in her 70s. She's like, I've realized that I've gotten to an age where I have nothing further to look forward to in terms of like, it will be nice when they do these things.
Oh my God, that's heartbreaking.
And it's like, we are all going to, God willing, we will all get to an age where our kids will no longer be, it will be nice when they're out of the house. Yeah. It will be nice when they're in university.
It's going to become, it'll be nice when they come and visit.
It will be nice when they visit.
Oh my God, my freaking heart.
This sucks, guys. We're having this conversation. I'm getting quite emotional around it. Mm-hmm. And it sucks because here we are, Easter Monday, the kids aren't there. We're working. Yeah. And it's like, you can't make yourself wrong because you got to be responsible for certain things and taking care of them. This is part of taking care of them. Mm-hmm. But it's like, oh man, if only this is where you're like, this is where the lottery is like is like, let's sign up for that. Mm-hmm. Right. This is where like generational wealth is like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Right. Mom, dad, in-laws. Thanks for that.
I also read something somewhere.
I'm kidding. You guys did a great job, but like, I would just like not to work. That would be awesome. I
read something. I'm sure this applies to father-daughter as well, but this specific one was talking about the relationship between a mother and a son and how it's basically you're in a relationship. It's like you're in a relationship with somebody and it's inevitably like, you know that they're going to break up with you. You are raising this little boy who you are absolutely infatuated with. You are raising him to leave you. And it's like that trauma of being with somebody and like you want them to be happy, but you also don't want them to leave. Honestly, this radio host was talking about it. I'll have to put the link in the caption. I was like Kim Kardashian bawling. Like it was so true and so powerful because you want to raise them to leave so that then they can support themselves and support another family. But you're also like, but where are you going? Like, stay with me. You don't want them to leave. Oh my God.
I remember having a drinking night with your father. It got a little out of hand late at night. And I proposed a question to him. I said, Rick, like, obviously you got lucky with me, right? Which is true. Yeah, which is true. And I got lucky with him, right? That we understand that there's a considerable amount of luck that occurred in our lives.
This is a story about two boys named Lucky. Early morning.
No, but here's where the conversation went not sour, but it just went sad.
Yeah.
And I said, Rick, like you were the guy. You were the guy for your daughter. And now, and she would come to you whenever she needed anything or wanted anything or whatever. Now I'm that guy. What was that like for you? Because at one day in my life, again, God willing, I get to see the transfer of that responsibility from me to my daughter and someone else. And he was like, I never really thought of it that way, but you're right. And then we got emotional about it. And I'm just sitting here like,
why? Like, what did he say?
Baby, it doesn't really matter what he said, because that was a private conversation that I had with the man. But what I am getting at is you're absolutely right. It's like, you are this person for your person, knowing full well
that you
won't always be.
Yeah.
You
so
won't
sad.
always be. And you want it to be that way.
I know.
You want them to find love. And
it's
you want
emotional
them to
warfare.
It is like, why do we do this to ourselves? So knowing that we're doing this to ourselves, what I'm begging the government of Canada and the United States and the world to do is figure out a way where we can maximize our lifetime with our children and zero in on them, get down on the ground and play with them. And I will gladly work for the rest of my life if I can have that window with them. Last week, I told a story about how I told Cooper, miss me, bitch. So I got two more stories that I have remembered. That one just happened, literally just happened. And then one happened when I was an uncle for the first time.
Okay.
I got a lot of these.
Okay, but if you didn't listen to last week's episode, it's basically when you forget that you're talking to a child. So maybe the language you use is inappropriate, or that's exactly it. Like either they're swearing or you're treating them like they're
Or you
older.
forget that you're talking to your child in general.
Yes.
Like a child for sure, your child, because there is an example
For
here
sure.
for there's an adult child, which is still funny to me.
Tell yours first.
So I'll start off the first time I was ever an uncle. So first time an uncle, little Benny boy comes out, he's walking, he's talking. Christmas time comes around and he gets this helicopter, this little teeny helicopter. Now this helicopter is really cool because unlike most remote controls, it was like a wand. And the wand you'd push up and down, you just rotate your wrist and it would go up and down. It's really easy to control. You turn it left, you turn it right, as opposed to trying to get the digits, the finger things up and down. So super, super simple. But I can't help but realize that this wand looks like the wand. And if you know what I'm talking about the adult sex toy,
right?
The wand. And so it's very phallic in its shape. And so, not really thinking anything of it, he was like a year and a half, I referred to it as a dildo. Well, he starts walking around with this thing that he's now referring to as a dildo, pointing it up and down, left and right. And everybody is like a little bit shocked that he's calling it this dildo. So I, for the next year, referred to myself as Uncle Dildo to try to remove the word dildo from his mouth and not make it about, things that look like sex toys.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of an error on my behalf. I totally admit that. Ironic, actually, now you think about it, but I'll tell that story a little bit later for me to be Uncle Dildo. But here's a cool story. So
that's such a weird thing to leave them because you won't be able to share this for a little while.
So here's a really cool story that happened 2 weeks ago. So I'm on a group chat on Facebook with my family. We call ourselves the Firm because it's the Ostafy Grimwood Ballin family. So it sounds like a law
Except
firm,
me.
right? Yeah, you're not on it. So anyways, we're on this family chat. And often what we'll do is if our kids are doing something stupid, we'll use this chat to let everyone know, hey, we're in the thick of it here. Like, take a look at this. Like someone shits themselves or whatever. We send photos and what have you. I get this message, this Instagram or this
it's a Facebook
message, right? And it's a picture that was drawn by my niece, Brooke.
Yes.
And what it is, it's hard for me to describe, but it looked like almost like a football shape. It was pink. It looked almost like a football shape, kind of came up. And then right down the center of it was this red line that was scribbled. So keep in mind, and then at the very top, it says, what did Brooke draw? Right? So my dad writes and is like, oh, it looks like a flower. It looks like a rose. My sister Michelle's like, oh yeah, it definitely looks like a flower. And I write back, I'm like, guys, it's clearly a vagina. Right? It's clearly a vagina. And my sister Laura writes back and says, Ryan, you just sent that to Brooke.
Because you didn't
And,
realize.
and my response was, what? What? I didn't realize that it wasn't the chat that we were in, the firm chat. It was another chat that Brooke started with all of our family members.
Right. Like on Messenger
And the app she was on said, what did Brooke draw?
Yeah.
I thought Laura took the drawing that Brooke had, put what did Brooke draw, and sent it off to us. And we were all supposed to make fun of the fact that it looked like a vagina. But it wasn't a vagina. It was a flower.
And
my dad was right. My sister was right.
her.
And I told a 7-year-old girl that her drawing looks like a vagina. But she thought it was funny.
Oh my God, it's too good.
And it was totally on brand with Uncle Ryan and his dildo.
Okay.
So
we have
mistakes happen, guys. Mistakes happen.
We have asked everybody in the community to write in specific stories about like when you forget that you're talking to a kid. So we're going to read some of them because they are seriously so funny. Okay, so the first one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, my boys 6 and 8 fighting in the backyard. Me listening to them through the kitchen window and slowly losing my patience. I open the door and one of them immediately gives me attitude and I yell back, "Suck a dick." So that also happened to be the day that our new neighbors moved in next door. We were outside. "Hey, you, suck a dick."
Suck a dick.
This is like a popular saying. Like
Suck a dick?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
I got one here. So this one, again, this isn't just kids. This is older. This can be older people. This is just your kids. Sometimes you say things you don't realize you're saying them to your kids. So this woman had an upper respiratory infection a few weeks ago, and she was telling her daughter, who's now 24, about the doctor's appointment. And the doctor asked if she spit or swallowed the crap that was coming up. Then something happened. She got distracted, and halfway through the story, the daughter says, "Well, did you spit or swallow?" Because the story was incomplete. And she said, "Of course I spit. I never swallow."
I love it.
To which they both looked at each other mortified. So.
Oh God, I love it. At least that she was older.
Yeah, it was older, but still, like, I don't want to know that my mom.
I know,
like my mom
it's
sucks
jokes.
dick.
Okay.
Hey, mom, do you spit or swallow? Ew, gross. I
Obviously.
definitely spit. Your dad's cum tastes like garbage. Like, that's disgusting. I wouldn't want to know that. Could you imagine? Just picturing your mom going down on your dad.
Stop.
All right.
Well, speaking of, my mom sends me a picture.
Of her going down on your dad?
No.
What? What?
You didn't let me
Last
finish.
day in Florida.
No, you didn't let me finish.
Well, how do you? What's there to finish?
Let me finish.
Did your dad finish
she
at
sent
least?
me a picture of those mints, that after dick mints and after vagina mints. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They literally say after dick mints and after vagina mints. She got them at some like spoof store, which is really funny. Anyway,
I asked her to bring some back.
give me some.
But none for you because you don't need it.
You don't need after the dick.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Okay.
My turn.
No, it's not. You just read that. Are you drunk?
But I thought the After Dicks was your story.
No.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay. This woman said, I was very much burned out and I went to go give my kiddo a sarcastic thumbs up with an annoyed face, but I don't know what happened and I just aggressively flipped her the bird. Like,
Fuck you.
I love it.
We were at an event this year for Easter. We took our kids. And Riley got a little bit of an attitude. You remember that?
Yeah.
And I looked at you and I'm like, what's wrong with her? And she's like, oh, I don't know. She doesn't want to do this.
God.
And I'm like, well, fuck her.
I know. I was laughing so hard when we were at that
You started
event.
laughing and I was like, oh, Jesus. That was
She didn't hear. She didn't hear.
She did not hear.
She was far away, but I was laughing.
Like, fuck her.
Fuck her.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
My husband and
Oh, it's
I.
my turn. That was your story.
You just did it. No, you stopped it. Oh, yeah. Fuck her.
You just got so mad.
Anyways, my husband and I took our 7 and 4-year-old to a play place. My darling husband and 7-year-old were playing on the trampoline, like the basketball trampoline. Hubby got a little pumped up, and while flying through the air to make his shot, and after he got the slam dunk, all red-faced and sweaty, he screamed. Screamed. Take that, motherfucker.
The whole place is packed. There's
Not
people
realizing
everywhere.
there's a million humans standing around us.
That would be you. Fucking eat it.
Take that, motherfucker.
So good. So good. Whoa.
Ow.
Careful.
Ow.
Okay.
I think that was one of my favorite stories.
I loved that one. It was so funny. Okay. Let's see. First off, hold on. Okay. Often friends will say, I can't believe you said that to your kid. And then I'm like, that's weird. That's how I grew up. But she said, I don't know what, that doesn't matter. That's not part of the story. This woman wrote, she's like, recently my daughter asked something ridiculous. And instead of being like, that's a silly question, or I don't know, I looked at her and I said, are you on meth?
Oh.
Like, that's the stuff that I want to say sometimes. Like, are you on drugs? Like, are you high right now? But I would never say that. It's
You're
so
an
good.
Idiot.
Yeah.
Okay. This is not how I talk to my son, who was about 3 or 4, just to be clear. Okay. He was acting up in the store and I talked to him and essentially I just mortified this thing here. But
You what?
the long story short in this story here is the woman was at the store. His son was acting up. Oh, fuck you, Brittany.
I'm sorry.
I don't like reading.
No, it's not even about that. But what did you say? You mortified the
I
story?
mortified it because I read the word mortified while I was saying it. It's right there.
Sorry. I thought that you didn't know what you like meant. Tried to say condensed or like reworded.
No,
you were like,
no. The
I'm
word said.
mortified. I see that.
Yeah,
now.
it says mortified, and then I screwed up, and then you started making fun of me, so I started to panic. And here I am about to tell this story.
I'm sorry.
His mother takes her kid to the store. He's acting up, and she goes to say something to him, and his response out loud was, "What you gonna do, Mom? Beat my ass?" Which is hilarious because anyone around them would know that that's the type of things that the mother would say to them. What you gonna do? Beat my ass?
I love it.
I screwed up. Sorry.
Okay, this is my favorite one. Okay, so pretty much anytime I walk into my son's room, his name is Jackson and he's 10. I call him a different variation of his name or just some random nickname that comes to my mind as I'm opening the door. For instance, Jack in the Box, Jackie James, Jackfruit, Butter Nugget, Monkey Butt, whatever.
I love this one, yeah.
But sometimes my mind just immediately goes into a swear word. So other things I've said as I'm walking into his room are, hey, shitbag, or bedtime penis head, and also go brush your teeth, Jack fuck. Mom!
What are you talking about, Mom?
Good night. I love you.
Yeah, don't forget to brush
Go
your
fuck
teeth.
yourself, Jack be nimble.
Don't forget to brush your teeth, penis breath. What?
I love this, Mom. I was laughing so hard when she said that.
Say them again. Say the three again.
It's hey shitbag. It's bedtime, penis head, and also go brush your teeth, Jack fuck.
You Jack fuck. Oh my god.
So good. It's so good.
Man, being a parent's fun.
Sometimes it's also emotional warfare.
Okay. I haven't read this one yet. So, painting with. Okay. I was 12 when my dad was painting my bedroom. I was hanging around and watching him edged around the baseboard in his new angled brush. And I asked him if he liked pairing with it. He replied, it's better than sex. And then, and the second it came out, he sighed and dropped his head, knowing that he just said that to his daughter. I've always been very witty and quick to respond with, I wouldn't know, and walked away.
You also, she actually went to say painting, not pairing.
Painting.
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Painting with. It's better than sex.
I love it. Okay. This is simple, and I think I've been here before, but she says, sometimes I'm in the car with my kids, and one time I was in my car with my 11-year-old, and I just casually said, for fuck's sakes, at full volume to a woman who was 4,000 minutes to pull out of a parking spot. She said, Mom, I've heard worse.
It's true.
It's true. I mean, you are prone for that in the car. You definitely do that.
Well, your kids need to understand that there is adult language and then there is not adult language. And when two adults are talking, they're allowed to use adult language.
Yes.
It's not good when your kids say it.
No.
But the best part about it is when your kids say it in the right context,
Yeah.
you know that they listen to you, but they listen to you properly.
Yeah.
Like stub their toe. Jesus Christ. Cooper says it all the time.
I know, it's true.
For fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not good. Anyways, here's my last one. Okay, so I said this to my bro-in-law but all the teenagers, nieces and nephew-in-laws were all there in the room at the same time. So it's important to set the standards here. So my brother-in-law had food on his chin-ish. And I blurted very loud, "Oh, you got," I said, "What you got there? Some flavor savers?" And I thought,
You got it right on the flavor saver.
you got it right on the flavor saver, which we all know is like, well, we all know what that is.
I didn't know that.
The flavor saver?
No, I did not know that.
You didn't know this?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, she didn't know it either.
Yeah.
And she then later learned that, she says, "I later learned through shock and terror, pure embarrassment, that this is due to eating pussy."
Right in front of her nieces and nephews.
Like that little piece of hair underneath your chin can either be the tickler, but right underneath there is the saver flavor. So
Flavor saver.
Yeah, like if you ever want.
No, I get
like,
it. That's
wonder
so
what
weird.
that.
That's so weird.
Oh, close my eyes.
Okay, this
trying
is
to
the
remember
last.
what that was like.
The last one. I was hanging out with my daughter one day. She was about 9 or 10 at the time. We hit the mall, got our nails done, had ice cream, all the fun things. When we got home, her mood completely changed and was being so sassy, like beyond tolerable. I told her to go to her room and she asked why, but in a super snotty way. And without even thinking, I just blurted out, "Because you're being a bitch." Man, I've wanted to do that. Anyway, at the end of the day, this is just normalizing what a trip parenting is. And there's good times, there's bad times, there's times you swear at your kids.
There's good times and bad times.
So we wanted to normalize it.
Side forevermore. This goes back to the whole Adam and Heather when Ella was coming in.
Yeah.
And Adam's like, leave.
So annoying.
Oh my God, she's so annoying. I remember thinking to myself,
Wow.
That's your daughter,
yeah,
man.
I know,
And
because
now-
our kids were too young, so we didn't get it.
And now I get it, man.
Yeah.
She's just so annoying.
That was so funny.
Oh my God. Listen, guys, we love our kids. We know you love your kids. Sometimes they are annoying.
Yeah.
And sometimes the real side of you just comes out. Like what's the saying? Sometimes they said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, sure.
That's it. Sometimes you just got to say, you know what? Suck a dick. What? No, that's what the one. I'm taking someone else's.
I got
Brittany.
it.
Oh,
Have a good day.
God, later.
There goes a sight from my soul.